Hi everyone, I am happy to welcome you to today's stream. And for tonight's Business Ideation workshop, we will be welcoming Lucas Spreiter from UNETIQ. Having a background in engineering and a long history in innovation projects like the TUM Hyperloop, Lucas co-founded UNETIQ, a Munich-based agency combining AI and sustainability. He helps companies and organizations to use the power of artificial intelligence for a sustainable cause by not only defining the most rewarding use cases that promote sustainability, but also implementing solutions from first prototype to the final application. And in addition, Lucas founded the working group AI and Sustainability at the German AI Association, the KI Bundesverband, in 2019 to promote the use of artificial intelligence on sustainable topics like climate protection. And Lucas will now be giving an interactive workshop on business ideation and will support you, our participants, with tools and tips how to ideate efficiently and how to get from the initial problem statement to a validated and working minimum viable product. And before we get started now, and I hand over to Lucas, please head over to the Slack here in a question channel for our workshops. You can always ask questions and they will be answered live. We will also be later sharing a Miro board that you can use to follow the sessions along. Now I'm handing over to you, Lucas.
Thank you very much for the nice introduction. I don't have to say a lot about me anymore. That's good. So welcome everybody to our small workshop tonight on, basically some tips that I have and that I learned during founding my startup UNETIQ, and also, well, we've been trying out a lot of different products and stuff at UNETIQ as well. So I'll just try to pass on the learnings that we had and try to give you a few tools at hand that come in handy maybe for the workshop. But then also I would like to share you some tips on, maybe how you can take your idea from the Makeathon that you're participating to actually founding your own startup and on the way there. So I'll be sharing my screen. Hope everybody can see it now. So, I think most of the stuff was already said about myself. I also studied at the Technical University of Munich in mechatronics and IT, did my master's degree in 2017, and then more or less I started becoming self-employed right after that, and eventually founding UNETIQ half a year later. And with the company, we became part of the German AI Association, which was founded more or less around the same time. And being involved in there, I became the regional group here in Bavaria. And based on, maybe some of you read it as well, there was a pretty famous paper of climate change AI in 2018, I think, end of 2018, where they showed a lot of potential applications for AI in the climate protection and climate change space. So maybe if you're still looking for an idea what you could do at the Makeathon, have a look in this paper, and could use as a little bit as an inspiration as well, how you can use AI in the sustainability area. So a small background on myself. So back in 2016, I also was part of a Makeathon at the Technical University of Munich, and that's basically where my let's say entrepreneur career started. It was the Makeathon Think Make Start, which is actually a 14-day, 2-week Makeathon. I think it still exists at Unternehmertum, and there I worked on the idea of Soul Move, which was basically a shoe that detects falls for elderly people and does like health tracking for seniors. And then after that I joined the first Hyperloop team at TUM Munich, and took part in the SpaceX Hyperloop competition. I mingled around with other startup ideas like Dreizter, which was a portal for students or 3D designers and other people who need somebody to do 3D design for them and actually print it. Was not really successful though. So just tried a lot of stuff out. And then I came back to my Think, Make, Start idea and wrote my master's thesis about that. Basically the product development process through the tough agile framework, which is an abbreviation for Think, Make, Start Agile Framework, basically a development framework in how to develop mechatronical products. And yeah, I tried out to take this idea of a shoe detecting force to an actual, let's say, minimum viable products. And yeah, had a lot of user interaction and a lot of learnings on how to actually go from idea to a product. And eventually I joined another startup as a freelancer called Callware, which were basically doing the exact same thing. Small fall detection and health monitoring for seniors, just with smart watches. Working there, I got to know my co-founder Stefan, and eventually we decided to found our own company and help other companies to apply AI in this domain. That's how I ended up founding UNETIQ. And UNETIQ, small words about my company, is a software development agency for machine learning and web development. And we really believe that with technology, you can do a lot of good things for a sustainable and better tomorrow, as we wrote here. And that's why we're developing custom AI solutions, data science solutions, and web development projects for other organizations, obviously other companies, but also by now hospitals or cities, and help them to apply AI to their most thriving problems, and always with the idea, to do something good as well for sustainability, or especially climate and healthcare. So this is basically what we do. It's, as said, custom projects on AI. So doing all kinds of stuff, from computer vision to natural language processing, but then also classical machine learning with structured data. And the way we work is that we mostly start with a proof of concept where we take a machine learning algorithm and just basically throw it on the customer's problem. So it always starts with a customer problem where we try to solve with machine learning. And once we've proven that that works, we go into the software development and really develop the tools that help our clients to solve the problem by themselves using our AI algorithms. And that more or less most of the time is a web application where they can interact with the algorithms. Sometimes if customers also don't have data yet, we start the other way around. First build the application, collect data, and then once we have the data, start with the data science part. So it can be either way, but it's always kind of a mixture between data science and software development. Give you a small idea on what problems we are working. So for example, we have this project ongoing, just made it into the last phase of a European competition. It's called AI4Cities, where we are tackling the problem of energy efficiency in buildings. So what we're doing is that we take data from a building and combine it with data from the energy grid, as well as with weather data and other data sources that we can get within the city. And then what we do is that we forecast the energy grid, assign it a carbon emissions factors. So for the next 24 hours, we always forecast how much emissions are attached to the energy grid for each time frame. On the other side, we forecast the building's usage, meaning how many people will be in which room at which time, how much energy will they need, etc. And then we shift the energy usage towards times with a low emission factor, meaning we let, I don't know, the ventilation in the building, let it run a little bit earlier to save emissions, or we EV charging is a good example for as well, to charge a car only in times with, let's say, more green energy. And in general, also we optimize the control of the building because, yeah, if we already know that nobody will be in a building for 2 days because it's weekend, why do we need to run ventilation or heating systems? That is the intelligent building control part of this. And yeah, one of the bigger challenges is actually not a data science problem, but the integration to many different building types. So, on another side, we're also working a lot in healthcare. We just started a project with all university hospitals throughout entire Germany because we did a forecasting algorithm, or more or less a risk prediction algorithm for COVID patients. But another very interesting project that we did just finished is also in a European competition, where we took free text medical notes of doctors and analyzed them. And yeah, there's this in the medical space, there's this ICD-10 code, which defines each disease or disease that one can have. And we took that medical notes and did an automatic classification algorithm to support doctors, and in our case, Spanish doctors, in the classification of diseases so that they wouldn't need to go through big catalog of these codes and always find the right code immediately. We have a lot of different projects like this going on in the company, and we're always on the look, obviously, for new talent. So if you're interested in an internship in a full-time position or in a working student position, check our careers page. Or if you're just general interested, maybe not now, but in the future, you can also obviously send me a LinkedIn connection request. I'll usually share our job postings. Also, maybe follow the UNETIQ LinkedIn page for more updates on that. So happy to connect with any of you. And yeah, having said enough on the company and on me now, I would like to start with the workshop and give you some tools at hand on that help you hopefully in the Makeathon and as well on maybe building an AI startup later. So I structured this workshop in 3 main blocks, basically. The first is how to brainstorm effectively and how to generate an idea and how to evaluate this idea. The next one is how to create a business model out of an idea and work on that with the lean canvas. And last but not least, might not be as relevant for the Makeathon, but if you really want to take it to the next level and start a startup with it, then I'll hopefully give you some tips on how to get a first client maybe, and how to secure funding and navigate through that sales and funding challenge a little bit. For all of these blocks, except the last one, there I don't really have an exercise, but for the first 2, at least for the Makeathon part, I have exercises that you can do on the way. Actually, I just reminded myself that I also have one for the last part. So I want this to be a little bit interactive. And for that, I have created this Miro board here. I see that a few people are already on here. So after I explain the technique, what I want you maybe to do, we'll always take like a 5-minute break to do this, is we have these exercises here, and there are multiple ways to go now. Either you can save the board as a template, maybe. I don't know if you have this option, and then just copy this board and do it yourself. Or if you are familiar with Miro, then you just, I don't know, copy this onto a new board. Another way to do this would maybe be to just copy one of the blocks, and then you would have basically your own block that you can work on here and use that as your exercise. I don't know, this could be Lucas's exercise. So then you would have your own field here on this Miro board. All right, let's go back to my presentation. Any questions so far? Does everybody have access to the Miro board? Or do we have any problems here? All right. Looks like so far not. Yeah, obviously you can just also sit and listen and not do any of the exercises, but yeah, obviously you learn more if you take part in it. So the first thing is about how to structure brainstorming, and brainstorming, yeah, the best tip I can give is like, it should be really about quantity and not quality, because in the first step, you just want to generate a bunch of ideas, and basically just ideas that come to your mind immediately. So one of the exercises that you can do is the so-called crazy eights. Actually, I stole this from the digital product school, so thanks for that. And the idea is that you grab an A4 paper, you fold it in the middle and then also 3 times, and then you unfold it again. But basically, it is just about having 8 rectangles. And then you always just spend a few seconds on each idea, just ideas that randomly come into your head. And basically then the ideas that you just take the ideas or the ideas that you think are good to the next level and brainstorm them within your team. What you can also do is that you basically pass the piece of paper around, or even better, let's say your team of maybe 3 people, then everybody starts with 1 paper and you just pass it around until all papers are filled up. So I think we can maybe start with the first exercise already. I'll just, declare some maybe brainstorming rules to that. So as said, in this first brainstorming phase, it's really important that you're not thinking about whether or not this is a good idea or not. It's just about generating any idea that comes to your mind. So no judgment on the idea itself at all. It can be as crazy as it is. Important is also that you then go into a discussion and build on the ideas of others, that you just say, okay, we can take, or maybe you can even combine ideas to become a bigger idea. But it should stay focused on maybe a central topic. And what is also important, have one conversation at a time. Don't interfere with each other, and don't stop somebody talking. What always helps is to be visual. You don't have to write text on this. If you're doing it on a paper, maybe if you're, I don't know if there's another team finding and team brainstorming afterwards, probably there is. And if you're doing it on a paper, then you can also just draw anything. So the idea is to really go for quantity over quality, and then just to build on the first ideas generated, and repeat the process maybe. There are some ideas how you can trigger also questions to get a little bit out of your head. In general, maybe for the teams, if you're thinking obviously it's very good if there are, let's say, interdisciplinary teams, because everybody has a different background, and it really helps sparking the ideas if your background is as diverse as possible. Yeah, there are some trigger questions. One thing that also helps in evaluating is what works well in different industries is a good question, because something that works already in one industry maybe can be transferred to another industry. Let's say, I started already with like crazy eight. So my first thing that came to my mind was a cat flap that only works with your cat. Could also be a dog flap that works with only your cat. But could also be, if I take this idea later, is a face recognition for your door, so that it only works with your face. So that way you can just build on top of ideas. And let's start with this crazy eight sheet now here. So if you want, you can just basically copy this part of the Miro board, copy it into your own board, or copy it somewhere else on this board. A few ideas on how to evaluate these ideas that came to your mind. And that being said, I'll start the counter here and have fun generating some ideas. If copying doesn't work, then I don't know, just take some post-its on the left and I don't know, make your own field. Obviously, you can also do it on a paper at home. All right, time's up for the first exercise. Yeah, so I mean, I don't really know. I don't get feedback here. I hope you were kind of able to copy this maybe, or just write down some crazy ideas that came to your head. So now that you have a lot of ideas, it's time to kind of evaluate them and pick the best ideas. So how do we do this? There are 3 dimensions that make a good idea, I would say. And the innovation sweet spot is the one between desirability, feasibility, and viability. So what do these individual dimensions mean? Desirability means, yeah, are we solving the right pain point for our customers? We want to evaluate basically if this is really a problem for the customer. So ask yourself, is this really a nice to have, or is it a must have? Obviously, from now you can't just like guess if this is really a problem for the customer. But in the first phase of brainstorming, just ask yourself or discuss within the team, how desirable do you think this problem or the solution of yours is for the customers? Throughout product development, basically what you would do is to have customer interviews with your customers, maybe already show them first prototypes that you built, and therefore refine the desirability statement for your product in every step a little bit more, and tweak your product so it becomes more and more desirable for the customer. So for example, when I was developing this shoe for seniors that fall, and the way I did it was that I would always go back to elderly people. I was actually sitting in like coffee circle every week with them, and then was showing them different stages of my product. So in the beginning, I showed them my shoe, and they said, "Yeah, this is nice. I would like to have something to detect my falls, but I would never wear this kind of shoe, or in general, I don't wear shoes at home." And then I came up with a new idea and did a smartwatch. Then they said, I don't like a smartwatch. And some people said, I don't like, I don't know, a wristband. I don't like a belt. So I came up with like a modular device and refined that in a way that old people would actually wear that. So think about how desirable your product is, but then also keep in mind that your customers might have a different opinion on that. And it's really important that you interact with your potential customers and get feedback from them as soon as possible. The second dimension, which is really important, especially in AI project, is obviously the technical feasibility of your idea. So, it might be technically feasible to, I don't know, fly to Mars. Some people want to do this now, but then also now for the Makeathon, keep in mind, is it technically feasible to at least build something? Doesn't need to be a moonshot project, but is it technically feasible to do something within this Makeathon? And then also for the product that you have in mind, is this technically feasible in different ways? So is there data to actually do this? If not, is it possible for us to gather that data and use it for whatever we want to do it? Does our team have the necessary skills to do this? And obviously, are there already some working algorithms that we can throw on this problem to come to a solution as fast as possible? So keep in mind that whatever you're thinking of needs to be technically feasible for now. But for the first brainstorming phase, you can't just go crazy. But then when working on the ideas, always keep in mind it needs to be technically feasible. The last dimension is really hard, especially now in a Makeathon or a hackathon setup. But it's good to keep that in mind already from the beginning, because in the end, if you're doing really a startup, so it's not so important for the Makeathon, but if you really want to found a startup, then your solution also needs to be viable. So there needs to be a long-term sustainability of the product, meaning that in the end, at some point in the future, at least, this product needs to make profit, so it needs to cost less than it actually makes. Yeah, so that is also already the next slide. Thinking of non-viable things now, I'm still not convinced, for example, that gorillas will be viable, but never looked into their business model. So now the next exercise is actually to evaluate your ideas into these 3 dimensions. I also made a bonus dimension now for the Makeathon that you have, and that is the fun factor. So also take an idea that you're really passionate about and that you really want to build, because in the end it's about fun. And then also, if it's about your startup, you could take this dimension and say, do we really want to build this? Are we passionate about this? Because actually, I think this category is probably very important, because if you're building something that is desirable, feasible, and viable, but you're not interested in it, then it's also not worth it for you to build that. So I think this last category is also important to account for. And yeah, it works like this, that you just take your idea and then you rate it from 1 to 5. How good it is in every dimension. Obviously, this usually sparks from a discussion. So yeah, you could create first ideas on obviously your target customers and how much they would like it. Then on the feasibility side, if somebody already has maybe a knowledge on how to tackle these problems or how it could be solved. And viability, I didn't do this. Apparently, in the preparation, we can make this very cheap and sell very high. So for the cat flap, yeah, obviously every cat owner would love to have this, and every cat owner has this problem that stray cats walking through his store all the time. It's just my assumption. Maybe it's not like this. That's why you need to do customer interviews. From the feasibility, obviously, for me, this is a classic computer vision identification problem. So it shouldn't be a problem to do this. And not having calculated this, I just assume that it's very cheap to make and very easy to sell high. And obviously, I would love to build this solution. So this sums up to 20, which would be the highest score that this idea could have. Yeah, for now, just do your best guess on your ideas. You don't have to evaluate all 8 of them. Just let's take another 4 minutes maybe, or I'll give you 5 minutes, to just take 2 or 3 of your ideas and give them a little bit of a thought on these 3 dimensions. And yeah, you can do this on paper, you can do this on your Miro board, you can do this on this Miro board, wherever. Just try it out. And yeah, if you have questions, also ask your questions. I'll start the counter now. And yeah, have fun at this exercise. All right. The 5 minutes are over. I hope some of you were able to evaluate some of their ideas. And yeah, I hope these two tools will help you find and choose just a good idea for your Makeathon. The next step is basically, once you have the idea, is one tool that we at UNETIQ worked with a lot in, just for concretizing or more restructuring our ideas and making them more defined, is the Lean Business Model Canvas. I would say it's more or less a very proven method for now to deconstruct your idea into key assumptions. And I'll walk you through this on the example of Airbnb within the next few minutes. So one note ahead. So how we use this document maybe in our workday. So for now, you just will use it probably once to really write down your key assumptions. But in general, this is a living document that needs to be kept up to date. This means, since when you're in a product development, you will just learn a lot of stuff along the way, and you need to keep this updated. So you might change your value proposition, you might switch to a different customer segment, or to a new problem or another channel that you reach out, because you will find out that something didn't work. So this will, on the one side, just give you some guidance on which different segments a business needs, but it's always built on hypotheses, on assumptions that you just write down, and you will learn on each of these fields. This needs to be kept updated, and can be twinkled around during your developments. So I don't really have a real exercise where we take time off on this, but the way I want you to work with this is just to copy this again, this lean canvas. Also, if you're working with Miro, there's already a template on this. If you just type lean canvas here, then it will bring up the lean canvas, and that you can take right off the box. And from here, clicking use template, and you're good to start. If you're doing this on your own Miro board, obviously you can copy it from here. I have on the Miro board a pre-filled version of the Airbnb lean canvas. And so the idea basically is, while I walk you through the lean canvas, that you directly take this and maybe do it for the business idea that you have chosen. Or you can do this whenever, but that was my idea how we do this exercise. So the first section obviously is the problem statement. So here you basically just write down what problem you're solving, and maybe what your customer has the problem. So for cat trap, it would be, I don't know, stray cats walk through the cat trap into my house, into a cat owner's house. Cat owner is annoyed by this. And just focus on the key problem that you're facing. So for Airbnb, basically was that there were actually two problems that they are solving. So on the one side, for travelers, it's hard to find affordable accommodations when traveling. And also, when they went into hotels or cheap hotels, then they never got this local experience. So basically, some travelers or budget travelers often want to have this experience as living in a city like a local. That's on the one side. On the other side, they solve the problem for home owners that maybe have a spare room or a guest room that they didn't have the chance to monetize these rooms that they had on spare, and yeah, that they just couldn't make money on this. Yeah, workarounds, alternatives, workarounds you can, but you don't have to define. But it's giving you an idea on what else there is out there. Obviously, for Airbnb, this is Booking.com, Hotels.com, or also then like couch sharing sites. So focus on the problem that you want to solve and just write your key problem assumptions. In general, it's very good to always start with a problem, because what lots of people actually do is they start with the technology and that they think they can build something cool, which is fun, which is also I would advise you to do on the Makeathon. You can also easily start with which is just the technology, and say, okay, we want to do something cool in computer vision, but yeah, if you want to make a viable business out of this, then you really need to start from a problem that people are having. Obviously, or not obviously, but the second section here is the customer segment. So who has the problem? What do these people have in common? Who has the biggest demand? In my eyes, this is maybe the most important section of them all, because what you need to do in a business is to define your customers as narrow as possible. Meaning, best case is, I don't know, 30-year-old founders living in Munich have all the same problem that, I don't know what problem they could have, that they can't find affordable accommodation, for example. But it needs to be as specific as possible, because in the end, what you will do is, obviously, you will want to find first customers. And if you're really narrow it down to specific people which have the same problem, it makes everything easier for you. It makes it easier to find the customers and target them on a very narrow basis. It will help you to gather their feedback and implement it into your product. So in general, it makes it easier to have a narrow business for a target industry than just to have one technology for everyone. So yeah, that being said, for Airbnb, obviously they had two customer segments that they wanted to connect with each other. On the one side, travelers looking for a cheap accommodation, and on the other side, people who have accommodation that they can offer and become a host. Early adopter is basically also good to have. So it's people that would be the first to try out your solution, even if it's not a finished product yet. So obviously, there are technology life cycles, and the early adopters are those on the left side who are really keen to try out a new solution, even if it's not ready, even if it has a lot of flaws. So maybe think of who could be your early adopters, because these are the people that you want to tackle very early in your product development. And that will help you also that will give you feedback, and that will help you to concretize your product. So the unique value proposition in combination with the competition is also, everything is important on here. But it basically says, what would catch attention? What is the stuff that you put on your landing page? How do you differ from other companies, and what really is your USP? Something that you do that nobody else does as good as you. Coming back to the Airbnb example, so their USP was that for the first time, travelers can get this authentic experience of a local area, living like a local, because you're also living at the house of a local, and not like hotels where you're just some stranger, that doesn't know the area and doesn't get in touch with locals. Because obviously at a hotel bar, you will only meet other strangers and people not from the area, and living with a local, you'll get this experience. On the other side, the other customer segment had this extra monetization channel because they now had a chance to offer their spare rooms for money. Yeah, competition doesn't really fit right well here. Their competition obviously was like hotels, booking.com, these kind of things. But what their USP is, and that's what this competition section is also about, is that now everyone can become a host, and that in the sharing economy, this really filled a gap. And that's how they defined their USP. Then coming to the solution, obviously this is close to problem because this is how you will solve the problem that is stated. What are the core features of your idea? And try to keep this as lean and sharp as possible. So just very short solution statement. The best is if you are just framing it in what are we doing and how do we do it and for whom are we doing it. So for Airbnb, this is the what is an online service, and for who? For travelers. And what can they do? Rent an affordable and local apartment. So basically they had two solution statements even. So online service where travelers can rent an affordable local apartment, and homeowners can earn extra money by renting out vacant areas on a day-by-day basis. Going further down, now we're really also touching something that is viable for business, maybe not for Makeathon, but your marketing channels. So how will you reach your customer segments? How will you reach your target group? Through which channels? For Airbnb, this was referrals and recommendations, which in the B2C business, basically in every business, recommendations, referrals are the best thing that you can give. But the standard way is to do advertisement. There are a tons of channels right now through online marketing that you can reach, but try to also in this case boil it down to what your channels are, how important they are for you. So in B2B business, for example, obviously there's LinkedIn is one of the most important channels, as well as like trade fairs and for example, just ads in magazines or articles in magazines. So these would be like B2B channels that you could define and then say, for now I'll only tackle this channel to try out my idea. So for example, standard way that we're doing when we are trying out business ideas is that we just have a very narrow target group defined, and then we write this target group, find these people on LinkedIn and drop them our idea, mostly with a survey attached to evaluate if this is a good idea and if people would be interested in that. So this is a good channel on reaching out people. So that being said, now we're going to the viability part of your business model. So what is your revenue stream? Obviously, at some point, hopefully, you will want to make money with your product or your idea. So how do you create revenue from your solution? Well, for Airbnb, quite clear, there are fees for travelers who pay the homeowners, and then there's just a booking fee. So easy. But then, I mean, there are a ton of proven revenue streams, I would say, like software as a service. There you have monthly subscription fee, or if you're doing an API, then you can charge customers per API call or per 500 API calls or whatever. And you can do, especially in SaaS business, you can offer like per user, per call, per, I don't know, whatever you're offering. Just look around and you try to find the best fitting for your thing. You can also try out newer stuff, for example, with building it. We are going a quite new direction, is where we're doing revenue sharing with the customers, that we're saying, okay, our software saves you amount X, and you'll pay us, I don't know, 10% of your savings as a fee. Last but not least, you also obviously need to know about your costs. So what resources do you need to make this idea become a reality, and how much does it cost, obviously? So yeah, think as detailed as possible. You'll always have like fixed costs or also variable costs. I don't know, probably you won't need an office anymore, but you'll need website hosting, you will need developers, you need marketing, insurances, yeah, photography in the case of Airbnb. There's yeah, a bunch of costs that you would need to think of. And then yeah, basically that's it. If your costs are lower as your revenue streams, then you'll have a profitable business, and that's as easy as that. All right. Yeah, I'll hope you had the chance to go along maybe a little bit and yeah, work on your own business model canvas. I'll give you 3 minutes more to finish it up maybe with my input. And then we'll start in the last section, which is navigating through sales and funding. So have fun. I'll be right back. All right. Yeah, so this last part is not really input for Makeathon, but in general, it's maybe just some stuff that I would love to have had heard before I started my business. And that might just help you a little bit in yeah, getting your first client, or yeah, getting in exchange with people, and yeah, maybe to secure funding. So, or just some funding channels that we used actually, that could also help you, especially in this AI section that we are in. So one of the first things that I want to show to you, and I really hope that they still have this 1 month free trial period, because this thing is kind of a little bit expensive, and with like €6 a month, is the LinkedIn Sales Navigator, for one very specific reason, that this really helps you to find people that you want to reach out and to find your first customers. So getting feedback is really crucial for every kind of product, because if you build something for 2 years and then you put it on the market and then nobody likes it, that is not what you want, right? So you want to get feedback from people that they say that they want to have this, and that way you can yeah develop your product on feedback. Obviously, this is more or less specifically targeted to business products now. So I don't know, somebody on the motherboard I saw wrote something about a supply chain management tool. Here, the LinkedIn Sales Navigator is perfect. If you're in the B2C space, if you're building something for directly for customers, it might not be the right tool. It might be as well, because if your customers are on LinkedIn, even if it's a B2C product, then it's nice. But if you are, I don't know, making a new app for 13-year-olds, it's not the right tool. Then you need another tool, like, I don't know, put out targeted ads on Instagram or TikTok, or I don't know if somebody still uses Snapchat or Facebook. So think of the channels that you defined in your lean canvas, and then try to reach out to first customers, and yeah, try to secure customers. That's what I'm saying. So the LinkedIn Sales Navigator, though, is a really, really good tool, as I said, in B2B businesses, to find first customers and to get in contact with them. Because people, for some reason, on this platform are surprisingly open to help you, and you just need to ask. Maybe you need to ask enough people and you're in the right way, so it's not easy to formulate a message, but it is really helpful. The thing is that you need to define your target group as good as possible, and the narrower you define your target group, the better. So that being said, the next exercise is about defining your target group with this LinkedIn Sales Navigator. It's not an entirely, doesn't seem to be an entirely difficult exercise. Also, obviously, this LinkedIn Sales Navigator is also not hard to use. But it's a good exercise in actually defining your target group, because it already gives you some domains that you need to think about in your target group. I just copied a screenshot of the LinkedIn Sales Navigator here. It can also, this also can be used for B2C businesses, because yeah, at least some domains. But yeah, since I'm from the B2B business, I just want to give you the knowledge that I have in B2B. I'll show you this way, because we actually work a lot with this. So first things first, you will always start with a search term up here. Meaning that, yeah, what are the people you're looking for? It basically is the description of the people you're looking for. So obviously LinkedIn works with jobs, so this could be a key account manager, this could be a full stack developer, this could be a student, this could be, yeah, just describe the person that you're looking for in terms. Cat example, I don't know, cat passionate. Next thing is the geography. So this yeah, it's very important, because yeah, different geographies have different culture, different languages, different everything. So you want in the beginning of a product, you want to focus on some area where you will deploy this. So yeah, for German-speaking countries, it's often the so-called DACH region, Germany, Austria, Switzerland, which is very popular. But you could also start a product in the US, I don't know, Poland, wherever. Geography is important. Obviously, industry is also important. Yeah, could be anything. Hospital and healthcare, I, for example, put. But yeah, if you only have one industry and that you're focusing on, that's actually better than just picking all industries that are out there. You can also, in the LinkedIn Sales Navigator, choose for years of experience. So one way that we are approaching potential new customers, or one method that we use in developing new products, is just doing surveys. It might sound stupid, but it's actually a very good way to learn very fast. So put a few of your hypotheses that you put in the LinkedIn Sales Navigator, like, is this really a problem is this a problem that you're having? So is the problem that we think that you're having really your problem? How much money would you pay for it? Or what do you think about doing this and this? And then you can evaluate sorry. Yeah, your hypothesis just with a survey. Here, this years of experience is a very good filter as well, because for some things you might not want to talk to a, let's say, junior full stack developer or a web developer, but really to someone who has experience in the field that he's working on. And yeah, you would want to leverage on that experience of that person. Yeah, then it's just some other stuff that you can define, like the headcount of the company. So maybe you just want to tackle corporates, then you could, yeah, put in that we should at least have 10,000 employees. Or you maybe want to tackle SMEs, then you would obviously put, I don't know, from 10 to 500 people. Job title, very good way to just target the right people, the cat executive owner, or it just, that really helps you to narrow it down to very specific people. The way we tackle this then is we build up these lists with people that could be our potential first clients. And then what is really important is that you write a very good connection request. Sorry, I've been talking a lot. What we found out so far is that, like, this in-mail messaging, this can work. You have a lot of characters, but it most of the time even costs money to write people directly if you're not connected with them. So the way we go is mostly just trying to connect with people and then write them a very targeted message, or a very good message in the connection request. And what we found out is that yeah, if you ask people for help, they are mostly willing to help. So just to describe maybe what you're doing in this connection request, say, hey, we are a student team. Hey, we're a small startup. We're trying to solve this problem, but we don't have any idea of what people think about XYZ. So we don't have any ideas if this is really a problem. Could you please help us? So we kindly ask you for your opinion in our survey, or can you maybe take 10 minutes of your time to give us a call? Something like this are things that have shown to work. But obviously it's always the mixture about what you define here on the left side and then what you actually do on the right side. So it kind of, if your message doesn't work, it could be either because your message doesn't work with that people that you're targeting, or that, yeah, basically that's it. But you can work then on targeting other peoples with the same message, or work on your message. And that way you can do a little bit like A/B testing. So you can, the way I would do it is formulate different connection requests, like 2 to 3, and then just write them always at like 10, 20 people and see which messages work better, and then use that message to write more people. Yeah, this is basically the last exercise. I'll give you 3 more minutes to define your target group with the LinkedIn Sales Navigator. How do we do this? Yeah, you can do it like me. Just take a post-it and put here whatever you think should go there. And I'll give you 3 more minutes to do that. You can also do it just somewhere, but feel free to just stick it where mine are already. Already dropped off the Miro board. So I might just go on with the presentation. Obviously, you can still stick on the Miro board if you're on there. So last few things, and yeah, coming to the end of the workshop now as well. A few words about funding and bootstrapping. There are basically, well, they are compatible with each other, but there are 2 ways to go with your startup. Bootstrapping just means that you don't take any external capital, but you try to make enough revenue from your existing customers to finance your business. Which might has the problem that you're doing a lot of consulting and that you get lost along the way. Funding means that you take external capital and work basically without customers. There's no golden rule on that. So you kind of need to figure out what you want and how it's the best for your business to go on. But the most important thing, actually, I think, is getting first customers, even if they don't pay you because you're an externally funded company. So because you really need to rely on feedback of your customers. That's what I'm saying. And obviously, if you're bootstrapping, then you're more independent and can do more what you want to do instead of working for investors. But on the other side, investors can be very valuable because they'll also give you feedback on how to work and what would be the next steps. Just some few words. I think, I think one of the best ways to approach it is just personal opinion, is to bootstrap in the beginning, get first customers, get that fast feedback, and then once you already have a product on the market somehow, then take up funding to really scale it. There are different funding stages, different funding opportunities, just to give you a small note on that. So pre-seed is basically when you just have your idea and you just start with something. This is, by the way, this is from some US agency company, something. So the valuation or the funding goals might or might not be feasible for Germany. But in the beginning, we just like put your own money or money of your friends and family. In Germany, there's also the opportunity to do it, let's say, governmentally funded. There are lots of opportunities that you can take, like Gründungszuschuss or Exist funding, etc. For example, in Berlin, there's also funding from the city directly if you start your company in Berlin. So take a look out on what early funding there is, and maybe talk to a Gründungsberater or somebody. I know that Unternehmertum has some that will guide you in the right directions. Also, sometimes IHKs do that. But there's lots of opportunities on funding for whatever ideas you have. Then in the seed phase, yeah, good way to go are, yeah, obviously angel investors, maybe even venture capital. Incubators are always nice because they might not give you that much money, but yeah, lots of workshop, especially if you're not, don't have a lot of experience in entrepreneurship. They help you to get guidance and to, yeah, go on with your business model and build on your business model, and might fill knowledge gaps that you don't have. But there might need to be that they actually take shares of your company. Then early stage is where you would get that, start working maybe with accelerators. In Munich, for example, there's Vira, which we ran through. There's tech founders. There are lots of accelerators that do two things. They'll get you first customers and also will get you money. So accelerator is always a nice way to go if you can make it into one. And if you're want to build up more, take up more capital, then angel capital and venture capital are a way to go in that phase. And then, yeah, not having any experience of growth and exit, but the way to go would be VC, maybe even bank loans, in these kind of phases. So last but not least, I put on some free funding opportunities, especially for AI startups. I know that many algorithms obviously need, or that you need a lot of computing power in the beginning if you train your machine learning models, and that this can actually be quite costly, or you might not even have a server somewhere that you could use for that training. So basically every bigger cloud provider is offering this to you. So you just need to apply to get free cloud credits. From my own experience, we've done the left two programs. So we ran through AWS Activate, which gave us $100,000 in cloud credits for a year. So that is really something where you can, yeah, do already a lot of deep learning stuff with that amount of cloud credits. And they have obviously pretty good server racks that you could leverage. And for smaller things and fast things, you can also just create a free account and have a little bit of credits for the first year or so. But it really is an easy way to get these, cloud or this computing capacity that you really need when you're doing machine learning. In the beginning, Microsoft and Google offer similar things, even with more money in cloud credits. And Microsoft for Startups, for example, is really nice because, well, they are focused on B2B startups, so you need to have a B2B product. But they also give you trainings, they give you a lot of network. They even do co-selling with you if you make it on their platform. So very nice program for B2B startups. For Google, I can't say a lot because we never ran through this program, but also there's the opportunity. And then we also ran through the NVIDIA Inception program, which is quite nice because it gives you their access to their network, to technical workshops, to the NVIDIA Deep Learning Institute, which is a online course, online university kind of thing. And yeah, it just helps you to build up your startup. And the nice thing about all of these that I'm showing right here is that they don't take any shares of your company, so you just run through it. And obviously what they want is that you stick with their cloud services once you're an established company. But yeah, it's a very nice way to at least get computing resources in the beginning. All right. So far, that's it with the workshop. I wish every one of you good luck at the Makeathon. If you haven't done with it so far, connect with me on LinkedIn, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thanks, Lucas, for the workshop. I think everybody really enjoyed it. There were a lot of cursors flying around in the workshop, and we had a lot of active viewers on YouTube too, who might have participated on the paper or somewhere else. And we already have a few questions. And one of them, the most recent, is, do you have some tips on finding a good co-founder?
Finding a good co-founder, that is that is a very good question. I think I just was lucky with mine. But in general, what you need to look for is somebody that somebody that you get along with well. That's hard to evaluate, especially in the beginning. And then ideally, two of you should complement each other with your knowledge and your capabilities. So if you're very good in technical, maybe find somebody that is very good in business and that actually knows how to sell stuff. So that is the ideal case. But well, as always, there's no golden rule, and you can get lucky there or not. Best way is if you find some. Well, for me, it worked out very well because I knew my co-founder for like half a year. We worked together before, we got along really well, and that was the base of our success. But well, can be like this or not. I think maybe it's hard to find with a really good friend that you know really good, and because then you have this very deep friendship, and in business you'll always have problems that you need to debate about, and it could affect your friendship. So it's hard to keep that apart, but I don't know.
Yeah. Let's hope maybe somebody finds the co-founder through the Makeathon. Maybe they work great together, and afterwards they will say, okay, let's found something. The next question is, when you showed the different cloud providers, do you recommend building your AI solution on one cloud and then scaling it up? Or would you recommend to hop from one cloud provider to the other who is giving you the most grants so you can use all of them? Or just always go, okay, where's training the cheapest?
Yeah, that's very difficult, I would say. The thing is that depends on your resources maybe a bit, because it's always obviously, I mean, that's why they give away this free credits, because it's a lot of pain to switch from one to another. And there are different cloud providers that do different things better or worse. Ideally, you could stick to one. So if you can, I would stick to one, because then you don't have this pain on migrating to another one. Maybe if you want to go this credit hopping, as I might call it, then build up your infrastructure in a way that you only need the server resources and not any of the surrounding services that they offer, like let's say SageMaker and AWS, because then it's easier to hop if you're just like using the server. But you might lose a little bit of time because it's more stressful or takes up more resources than building this infrastructure like that. So yeah, I think if you can, stick to one, but if you need the credits, then hop around a little bit at least. Also,
And
obviously, one thing for that, and maybe for example, what is really nice about Microsoft, I don't want to make advertisement, I don't getting paid for this, but Microsoft obviously is established in a lot of businesses. So if you're doing a B2B product, and that's why you're so focused on B2B, it's actually nice, especially with co-selling, because what you can do is that you don't have to do a contract with your customer, but you can do it through Microsoft, which helps in speeding up buying processes, which can be really long.
okay, we have another question about the co-selling, and the question was like, do all cloud providers that you showed offer co-selling? And when can you approach them and ask, okay, can I do co-selling? Is this like for a specific sector, or a specific industry, or is any B2B product eligible?
Good question. I don't know too much about this. As far as I know, AWS has a marketplace for solutions as well. So everybody's trying to establish a marketplace right now anyway. But yeah, I don't know if they are also like doing this real co-selling. I just can speak about Microsoft because we're on that cloud service. Is that, yeah, you can offer your product on their marketplace and then people can buy it. And it can be basically actually anything. So it can be a SaaS product, it can be an app, it can even be consulting that you can buy through this. But there are different tracks that apply to products. So for example, for SaaS product, it might even be that people from Microsoft will sell your product if it basically uses a lot of Azure resources and helps them as well, and solves a problem that their customers might have. Then this might happen, but I don't have any experience with that. I just know that it exists.
Okay. On this topic of training, are those credits negotiable? Can you say, okay, I need a little bit more. Can you still give this to me? I'm still evaluating the platform. And also, would you recommend using grant money that might be available to buy your own hardware and do the training on site instead of using a cloud provider?
So the money that you get there is only available for cloud credits, and so you can't buy any hardware. Is it negotiable? As far as I know, not. Sometimes, if you get a good startup, how is it called? I don't know. So you will, most of the time, you'll also get a person that is responsible for you, in a way. Especially Microsoft. Sorry that I'm making advertisement here again. They're doing a very good job in there because they're connecting with you immediately, try to help you set up the infrastructure, etc. And sometimes you can speak with them to not get more grants, but as I said, there is like this 1 or 2 year period, and if you haven't used up all your credits yet, it might be that they be a little bit might prolong it, your period, but we're still in 2 years. We'll run out of it soon.
Okay, so you can't increase the amount, but you can ask for an extension if you weren't able to use all of it up. And now more into the MVP area. How bad can the worst MVP be? And then rather just bring it out on the market and risk losing customers in the beginning. So I think the question is like, okay, how soon should you bring your MVP out to the market, and how long should you like stay behind your laptop and try and fine tune the model and increase the
Yeah.
performance?
Well, there's this very famous and very true saying that if you're not ashamed of your first version of your product, then you are too late with putting it out. So basically the best thing that you can have is customer feedback, because it will steer you in the right direction of developing your product. So as soon as there is a working version, or even before that, talk to people and show it to them. So you don't even have to have a working solution. Maybe you just have a wireframe or a first UX prototype or a UI prototype. Well, I mean, you don't need to sell it, but you can at least show people and ask them for feedback. And then once you have a first working version, put it out and gather feedback. But here it's maybe important to say as well, think about who you can show this first version to. So spoken about early adopters before. Those people will be okay with if they click a button and it doesn't work or something doesn't work perfectly. So try to give this first shitty version to these early adopters, learn from that, and then maybe go up the way to other customers.
Great. And also on the topic of MVP, and this is already the last question. So people make sure to write in the chat if you still have a question so that we can get it answered. But this one is about, do you think that outsourcing tasks like creating a front end for your business case, if you don't have any front end tech stack, is this beneficial to get the MVP to the market quickly? Or would you say it's superior to do it yourself in the beginning, to be independent and learn, okay, what's the infrastructure and get those skills in-house?
Well, this is mostly depending on two things, right? Your budget and your knowledge. So if you don't have the budget to outsource, then you obviously need to do it yourself. But in general, I would say if you have at least a little bit of budget for that, outsource everything that is not your key competence. Easy example from my own company. So we thought about becoming more or less an UI agency as well, or also doing UX ourselves, and supporting our customers with UX as well. But we don't have anything that has UX experience yet. So we hired somebody that was a little bit more junior. It worked out a little okay-ish, but I would say in the end it costed more than outsourcing it actually. So everything where you don't really have the key experience and you can't learn it yourself very fast and very good, outsource that. Like we are outsourcing UX and UI and branding and marketing stuff now, for example.
Okay, you mentioned working as an UX agency maybe for your customers. Let's say you want to start with your AI startup, but suddenly you run out of funds to keep running, paying yourselves. Would you recommend trying to do some software development freelancing on the side to finance your startup? Or do you think like splitting, pursuing a startup and freelancing or being an agency at the same time is too distracting?
Good question. Well, I mean, that's what I've been doing, like building an agency and trying to build a product as well. And it can be very distracting though to have an agency and work on that. So if you already know which problem you want to work and which one you want to solve, then try to spend as much time on that as possible and try to not do freelancing on the side maybe, because everything will distract you from that. So in my case, I started without any business or with a problem idea. The business idea was to basically do agency work to get money and find a business idea that is that I want to work on and that me and my co-founder and now the entire company want to work on. So it started off differently, but it obviously takes out a lot of your resources as well. So I don't know. If you need the funding, then maybe do the bare minimum to keep you focused on your real problem.
Yeah, or maybe if you win a Makeathon, you have a small amount of funding already that can get you help get started into your entrepreneurial journey. But this was already the last question we got asked from our chat. So I want to say thank you very much, Lucas, for hosting this workshop today. I really enjoyed it, and also what I can tell from the TUM.ai chat, everybody there, and also with the questions we got, it seems like people were engaged today. And would you have any closing words you would like to share with everybody?
Yeah, so my closing words would be if you are at any case thinking about founding your own company, just do it. Start and learn on the way. There are so many problems out there that needs to be solved, and especially what also the Makeathon is about in like sustainability in healthcare. Especially in healthcare, there's so much you can do with AI, so much Yeah, and the world needs problem solvers. So go out there and do it, and don't think about it too much. If it's too much of an effort, it will be it will be a lot of hassle, but it's always a lot of fun, and in the end, it pays off. So just start somewhere and see where it takes you.